Hello Edge, how are you? Thanks very much for doing the video response. I appreciate the way you are, and the way you speak, your tone of voice, and your sincerity, your openness, and your friendliness, and all sorts of things. And so we're only getting to know each other. So I asked you to do the video response because, yeah, I would never use those words, because I wouldn't understand that sentence that you put in the comment, because 3 out of the 4 words don't get them, probably never will. But yeah, so no, on the label point, I'm not against labels, but I'm for the right labels. And I think that the labels of my subject, which is intersex or people, is that the labels male and female are just too restrictive, and they're too simplified, and they're too false, in my opinion, in this day and age, in this reality of human species on planet Earth. Male and female is just far too simplified, and we're not, as individual people, that simple, and so I think nobody should be forced into the feeling that they have to act one sex or the other sex, and that if you don't, then that you must be homosexual or something like that. That's always the first question, isn't it, for anybody who brings up anything to do with sexuality? It's always, are you gay? That's the first question. And you question to yourself, don't you, then, when they ask you that, even if you are homosexual, you question, like, well, why is that any of their business, or what has that got to do with their lives? Why do they need to know the answer? Anyway, by the way, I'm not sniffing cocaine, I've just got a cold. I've never taken cocaine either, never probably will. Anyway, but just on that point of cocaine and that level of speed and speaking, a lot of people think that I am on cocaine because I do speak a lot, or they think I'm on amphetamines. I don't take amphetamines either. And when I'm dancing, they think I'm on ecstasy, and they say, how many A's did you have? And I'm like, Jesus, man, I smoked my brains out, that's about it. Anyway, yeah, really good that you did that response. So I just want to say on the label thing that, yeah, I'm not rejecting labels when they are very well suited to the person, and if I don't mean by the symptoms, I mean by the wording as well. I mean the symptoms and the wording. Like I don't have a better option for bipolar right now, but certainly a word such as let's say bipolar challenged, you could call the person. I like the word challenged, because when I've said hormonally imbalanced, it's actually sometimes it's not, and but you want to label the situation, so the best way to incorporate everything would be to say hormonally challenged, because challenge gives you this feeling of like, yeah, it's a challenge, it's a game, I'll try my best at it, whereas imbalance or disorder, even syndrome, I mean, it's just the word syndrome is associated mostly with all the syndromes that, let's say, Down syndrome is if you mentioned in a quiz to somebody, like if you played Mallet's Mallet, and you said syndrome, the word syndrome, most people's immediate thinking on syndrome, I think, statistically, would probably be Down syndrome, because it was the most talked about syndrome for years and years and years, and those people had to suffer essentially because they had other idiot monkeys trying to work out them that in those days of discovery and dealing with it and labeling it as something, and termed handicapped, and again, handicapped, disabled even, as you pointed out, Ed, yourself, and I've pointed out many times, and there's many a book that will also talk about disabled in 2 separate words instead of one. They'll also talk about diseased as in 2 words, apart from just the one deceased. So it's about really making the brain, feeding your brain. This is the secret to life, people. Is feeding your brain with as much positivity as possible, and trying to be positive within yourself, and basically doing your best you can. The best you can doesn't mean that you are a bad person if you completely lose your head and scream at an old person on the street. You know what I mean? If that happens to happen, I'm not using that from any personal experience because I don't do that, but I'm just trying to give examples here, which I'm really crap at, and all my friends will tell you that I'm crap at giving examples on the spot. I can't think of good examples. I go off into mad examples, like crazy examples. Anyway, and just this is the point. If you want to just rewind 2 minutes and just watch what I've said there in the last 2 minutes, probably there's a lot of topics at the same time. If anybody wants to call that ADHD, you're absolutely welcome to do it. You can call the symptoms ADHD, absolutely no problem. But I will, to the end of the earth, tell everybody, I don't care what you say, I absolutely do not have ADHD. I am not ADHD, and I certainly have traits of attention, concentration problems. Definitely, always had. And in school they thought that I was smoking marijuana, and I hadn't touched the stuff, So please, this is my point. It's not I'm against labels, because obviously it's, as somebody mentioned to me years ago when I first brought this point up, they said, well, what would you do in a supermarket then? Just have white boxes with everything in white boxes. They didn't go into extreme detail like this, but I will. Like what if you went into a supermarket and everything was just white, and you just had to kind of hope for the best or know where it is, because you need labels. Of course, you do need labels. But what if margarine was called something like mucus? Nobody would buy it. Yeah. So margarine's it's well labelled. It doesn't put you off getting the margarine. In fact, it entices you in. Butter. Oh, sounds great. You know what I'm saying? That if foods were called, like say spaghetti with the sauce on it already pre-packed in there, called bloody worms, are you gonna buy it? No. Nobody needs to be labelled badly. That spaghetti doesn't need to be labelled badly as bloody worms. That spaghetti needs to be labelled as spaghetti bolognese, because it is spaghetti bolognese. And if this bloody example isn't working, I hope that I'll get my shit together and be able to give you a great example at some point in the future on this, because I feel very strongly about this. So strongly about it that I slurred my words and feel vrolly flongly about this, as I flung my words all over the place. Yes, I do, and I flung my thoughts all over the place. What's flong, you say? Well, maybe it's a new word for flinging. Flinging in the past could be flong. It doesn't take too much to change words. People have adapted the English language, and every single language in the world. They've adapted it to suit themselves as time progresses. Again, I couldn't give you examples, but there are thousands of examples. And so I think we need to adapt our personal national languages wherever you live in the world, and adapt it, make it better. We do need neutral forms, or just a one standard form to address people, as in don't say he or she ever again. I'm talking about in the future now. Continue doing it for the next 50 years, of course. I'm not saying anything there. Please, let's see, make a date, 2059, okay, yeah. By the time 2059, if we haven't exploded each other, it would be lovely if we had another word that wasn't it. The word it, that it wasn't it. that it would be, and it wouldn't be he or she, that it would be a fucking label, right, that would incorporate all the feelings of having a good personality, being a person, you know, and allowing a person to express themselves as they were born to be, you know, and call them either by their name. But if you don't know their name, which is another point that people have said to me, but if you don't know their name, how do you say it? And I say, well, you could say they, but then again, they, even though there are great examples in languages such as Czech and well, I could just use Czech for the moment, where they've got a really good neutral pronoun. Anyway, I gotta go. There's a big snuffle there. I gotta blow my nose. Ciao. We'll talk again. So, see, I love video responses, so we can just chat like this. Be great. Ciao, Edge.